Hello and welcome to True Tales of British Crimes. This is the true story of the night Courtney Valentine Brown was brutally murdered. I hope you enjoy this video.
Southend-on-Sea, a vibrant coastal town in Essex, known for its iconic pier and bustling promenade. But on a chilly Friday evening in February 2019, a grim discovery on a quiet residential street would shatter the peace and plunge the community into a stark reality of violence and tragedy. At Roots Hall Drive, emergency services were called to a distressing scene, a man, critically injured, lying unresponsive outside a flat. This was the moment the life of Courtney Valentine Brown came to an abrupt and brutal end, marking the beginning of a complex and painstaking murder investigation. The victim was identified as 36-year-old Courtney Valentine Brown. While a tragic loss of life, the unfolding investigation quickly revealed that Courtney's death was deeply rooted in the dangerous world of drug dealing. He was reportedly involved in dealing drugs from a specific flat on Roots Hall Drive. This flat belonged to a woman named Kelly King. King found herself in a deeply precarious situation. She was, according to later court proceedings, being exploited, a practice often referred to as cuckooing, where drug dealers take over the home of a vulnerable person to use as a base for their operations. On top of this, it was understood that Kelly King owed Courtney Valentine Brown money for drugs. This combination, her desire to reclaim her home, escape the oppressive grip of drug dealing, and the outstanding debt, created a volatile environment. It was a pressure cooker waiting to explode. Driven by her desperation, Kelly King turned to her partner, Ian Slater. Slater, rather than seeking legitimate means of resolution, decided to employ force. He initiated a plan to physically remove Courtney and his flatmate, Solmaz Sivkit, from the property. To bolster their intimidating presence, Slater enlisted the help of two other men, Alex Stevens and Stuart Pearson. This was no spontaneous act of violence, it was a planned confrontation. Each member of the group arrived equipped for a forceful eviction. Ian Slater was armed with a pole. Alex Stevens carried both a hammer and, crucially, a knife. Stuart Pearson, a man of significant stature, was brought along for his sheer intimidating presence, designed to overwhelm any resistance. The stage was set for a confrontation. On the evening of February 22, 2019, the group converged on Roots Hall Drive. Kelly King, using her access as the flat's owner, facilitated their entry into the building. She then knocked on the door of her own flat, gaining access to what would quickly become a scene of extreme violence. Once inside the flat, the planned eviction rapidly spiraled into a savage attack. What exactly transpired in those terrifying moments became a central focus of the police investigation. Evidence from the scene painted a grim picture: a shattered kitchen hob, furniture overturned, clear signs of a desperate struggle. Courtney Valentine Brown was not merely a passive victim, he fought for his life against multiple assailants. During the chaotic confrontation, Alex Stevens wielded his knife, delivering the fatal blow. The knife entered Courtney's thigh, tragically severing his femoral artery. This injury, though seemingly localized, led to catastrophic and rapid blood loss. In addition to the fatal stab wound, Courtney also sustained a blow to the head and visible defensive injuries on his arms, consistent with someone trying to protect themselves from an onslaught. The violence was not confined to Courtney alone. Solmaz Sivkit, the other occupant of the flat, was also attacked. Ian Slater struck her on the ankle, causing her injury. The group's intent was clear: to inflict harm and forcibly remove the occupants, no matter the cost. The immediate aftermath of such a violent crime throws the full force of law enforcement into action. Essex Police's major crime team swiftly launched a murder investigation, a process later documented in vivid detail by the BBC Two series, Murder 24/7, which offered a rare, real-time glimpse into the challenges and triumphs of such an inquiry. The initial scene presented significant hurdles. There were no immediate direct eyewitnesses to the stabbing itself, and piecing together the events required meticulous detective work. Forensic teams scoured the flat for every scrap of evidence, from fingerprints to DNA, reconstructing the brutal struggle that had taken place. Detectives embarked on a relentless pursuit of the truth, utilizing every tool at their disposal. They meticulously analyzed phone records to map the movements and communications of potential suspects leading up to and after the murder. Local CCTV footage was painstakingly reviewed, tracking the group's journey to and from Roots Hall Drive. Each piece of information was a puzzle piece, slowly building a comprehensive picture of the events. The investigation soon led police to Kelly King and Ian Slater, who were apprehended. Their arrests were critical, but the hunt continued for the other two individuals involved, Alex Stevens and Stuart Pearson. The pressure was on to bring all those responsible to justice. When they too were located and arrested, the focus shifted to the interrogation rooms, where detectives faced the challenge of extracting the truth from suspects who often denied involvement or attempted to shift blame onto one another. With the evidence gathered, the case moved to the Crown Court, where the harrowing details of Courtney Valentine Brown's final moments were laid bare. The prosecution argued that all 4 individuals were part of a joint enterprise to commit an unlawful and violent act, an act that ultimately led to a man's death. The trial meticulously presented the sequence of events, the roles each person played, and the intent behind their actions. After hearing all the evidence, the jury delivered its verdicts. Kelly King and Stuart Pearson were found guilty of manslaughter. Their involvement in the unlawful act that led to Courtney's death was clear, but the jury did not find they had the specific intent to kill or cause grievous bodily harm. They were each sentenced to 9 years in prison. However, Ian Slater and Alex Stevens faced a different fate. Both were convicted of murder. Alex Stevens, as the individual who inflicted the fatal stab wound, and Ian Slater, as the instigator and recruiter who brought the deadly element to the confrontation, were deemed by the jury to have had the necessary intent for murder. They were each sentenced to a minimum of 26 years in prison. The verdicts underscored a critical distinction in law. While all were involved in the night's tragic events, the level of intent and direct action determined their ultimate accountability. Justice, in the eyes of the law, had been served for Courtney Valentine Brown. The murder of Courtney Valentine Brown was a stark reminder of the hidden dangers within the drug underworld and the devastating consequences that can erupt from seemingly contained disputes. It was a case that deeply impacted the community of Southend-on-Sea and highlighted the relentless work of law enforcement in bringing perpetrators to justice. While the trial concluded, the tragedy of Courtney's death serves as a solemn reminder of a life cut short, and the intricate, often dark, threads of true crime woven into the fabric of our society. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime analysis.